A while back, I have reviewed Quarantine, the Hollywood remake of the Spanish movie Wreck. When I found out that there was going to be a part 2, I already knew I was going to watch that too to follow up on my review of the original, which can be found here by the way, in case you hadn't seen that one yet. It's fun, I promise. After making a bunch of other stuff in between, the time has now finally come to review for you Quarantine 2 Terminal. Unlike its predecessor, Quarantine Terminal is not a remake. The original Spanish franchise had 3 sequels, giving a little more depth to the story and the characters. Quarantine Terminal is not a sequel, but instead is set to take place at roughly the same time as the first movie, but at a different location. Something to do with airports, hence the terminal. Since this is not a sequel, the events that transpired over the course of the first movie are not really crucial to understand this one, but for those of you that want to know the story but can't be asked to watch its entire review, here's a summary of the story. It will only take a minute. These guys were shooting a documentary on how to firemen when suddenly an emergency called. Was there a fire? Well, not really, it's just a foaming old lady that was so hungry she ate part of this cup. Panic everywhere, nobody can leave the building. Wondering why? Of course not, the movie is called Quarantine, it's no rocket surgery. Oops, they forgot a fireman and the old lady ate him too, and everyone wonders why these assholes keep filming because it makes no sense, but if they stopped it would have been a short movie, so here we are. The landlord says it's a good idea to escape through the back door, but they fail because the building is surrounded. There's another foaming woman, so it's probably an infectious disease. The landlord says it's a good idea to escape from the first floor, but they fail because the building is surrounded. Newsflash, this dude's a zombie now. Still not sure what this shit is. It's rabies. Oh shit, this guy gets eaten by a dog. The CDC enters with anti-rabies suits that do not really protect against rabies, so they're just suits. Some people die. Looking for a scapegoat? Blame this bitch. Ho's mad and eats her mom and then fucks off upstairs where she also eats this cop. The zombies escape and some more people die. Not me, says this dude that wants to jump out the window but gets shot because the building is surrounded. The landlord says it's a good idea to escape through the sewers, but they fail because the building— oh no, wait, that could work. They still fail because the building is zombies. Nobody wins, everyone's fucked. Except for these two that end up in the attic where they learn the virus was made by a cult. And then they die because they're idiots. The end. Now that we're all up to speed, let's see what Quarantine Terminal has in store for us. This review contains spoilers, so if you do not wish to be informed about the plot of this movie, you can skip ahead to this part of the video for the review summary. The opening scene introduces us to stewardesses Jenny and Paula that are on their way to work. They're really cutting it down to just the essentials. I guess they're in a hurry and can't waste time on footage of them emerging from the vehicle. There's an implied long-standing friendship and we get some tiny personal details about Jenny, like she's a slut and her dad wants her to be a pilot. Aboard the plane, we learn that the co-pilot is sick, allegedly because of his dog. Sounds familiar? We also get to know George, a 13-year-old kid under Jenny's care. A couple of more people enter the plane. Keep an eye on this fat guy, he will be important. Damn, this scene right here would be everyone's worst nightmare if it was made in 2021. Another important passenger to keep an eye out for is Henry, who joins with a crate full of hamsters that does not fit anywhere, even though the plane was said to be half empty and he's not sitting next to anyone. Whilst trying to be helpful, the fat guy, who is called Ralph by the way, gets bitten by the contents of the crate. They're not shown prominently, but from the glimpses you get to see from them, it's very clear that they are not hamsters, but rats. When I first watched it, I assumed I misheard when they said hamsters, and in my mind they were rats already. I was slightly confused about why they would be allowed on board, but I decided to just roll with it. There's some more sneezing going on as one of the passengers also appears to be sick, and he joins the infection origin roulette, though at this point I was fully convinced it was going to be the fat rat guy. So the staff includes Captain Forrest and co-pilot Wilsey, and stewardesses Jenny and Paula. The following couple of scenes are meant to introduce us to all the passengers aboard. The old couple, nail girl, business guy, the cat lady, the pregnant couple,
I'm going to be your daddy.
Suck Boy and Suck Machine, and we already met Rat Man, and Fatty Boom Baladi. Oh, and there was also a kid. The first tie-in with the original story is a brief reference on Henry's laptop, where a news article mentions the events from the building in the first movie.
I don't know yet. It's some apartment building in LA.
Where in LA?
I have no idea. Maybe downtown?
Then Jenny goes to check on the fat man and he's clearly not doing so well. He's all frothing, has trouble speaking, and also barfs all over Jenny. Or, to put it differently, Ralph just Ralphed. Most of the passengers are grossed out, but the cat doesn't seem to mind. He unleashes a berserk rage and slams the cockpit door, and many passengers assist trying to restrain him. A process which includes beating this guy up. One of the passengers that tried to help was the kid, and he's injured in the process. So far he's just profiled himself as a dick that hates adults as he continues to be rude to the people that tried to help him. Like, how the fuck was this her fault? Nobody asked you to jump on a man 5 times your size. Among other things, we established that Nail Girl is actually a medic, so I'm gonna call her that from now on.
Secure the capital landing. FAA wants us on the ground now.
The pilots are going to land the plane as quickly as possible to get rid of this dude, resulting in some turbulence. Paula figured it may be a good idea not to keep him lying around on the floor, and I tried to seat him but struggled to get him in a seatbelt because of his, rather large circumference. After Paula is bumped on top of him, he awakes with bloodshot eyes and he bites Paula's face off right through a face mask that seems to be undamaged afterwards. The animation here is rather weird. Their strategy seems to be to make it so fast that you can't really tell what's going on, and add some barking sound because he's clearly a dog now. Given a different sound setting, this might very well have been a COVID 2020 love scene. Anyway, after the incident, Wreck-It Ralph is locked in the bathroom and Paula is being patched up. The medic sasses them for not having enough lidocaine. She then says it's a sedative, but it is not. It's actually a local numbing agent, so this is a lot of sass for an incompetent medic. They land, but they're not cleared for a gate for unknown reasons. Captain Forrest decides they can't hold their current position and that they must act quickly, so they go to a different unused gate to get these people off the plane. This is where we meet Ed, one of the airport's baggage handlers, who initially rejects them, but once he sees the severity of the situation, he's lending a hand. However, it turns out he got the shaft since he's now locked out of the terminal along with all the passengers, without getting any information on why they are being contained, kinda like they did in the original Quarantine. The pilots stay inside the plane to contain Raph, and the old couple was kinda cozy there, so they're staying as well. The rest leaves. So yeah, it was nice meeting these people. I'll miss them when they're dead. They split the party and these dudes stay with the infected, so clearly they're going to be the infected next. They try to find another way out through the employees only section of the airport to the
ramp-up staging area, where all the shit gets done that you'll never see.
This is where we learn that they are in lockdown and that nobody can leave, not even Ed himself. Everyone starts yelling at him as if it's all his fault, even though he just tried to help. People really become assholes in a crisis, don't they? Anyway, many alarms sound and everyone seems to be relieved as they figure they'll be saved. But we all know how that went in the LA building from part 1. In a similar fashion, they seal off the perimeter. One of the first things they say is actually that they are being quarantined, something they did not clarify in the first movie. After everyone is seen trying to call the police, Ed called 911 and heard that their situation is unknown to them, so whoever is outside there is probably not with the regular authorities. A few minutes back, everyone was harassing Ed, but they figured that now is a good time to switch the focus of their hatred to Jenny.
How old are you anyway?
What the fuck does that have to do with anything?
Right to keep us here. You got no right.
Is she keeping you here? No, she's locked in there with you. How is it that these people think it's her fault? Why are they so desperately searching for a scapegoat? Besides, it was just explained that the door operations are not in their control and that even the present airport staff does not know what's going on. How then do you figure that a fucking stewardess is in control of the situation? So it has been 5 minutes since we last saw the pilots, and we get an excuse to return to the plane so that we can start to spread this thing. The medic woman needs her supplies, which she conveniently left on the plane because obviously she wouldn't be needing them. Also, apparently they need Ed to get the baggage on the plane. I get that he's a baggage handler, but he was not on this plane, nor was he supposed to deal with this plane or its baggage. Why would he be capable of getting that shit? Or better yet, why would he be the only one capable of doing so? Suddenly half the passengers went to get their stuff from the plane as well, so it also gives us an excuse to split the party. Alright, now let's watch this scene. Okay, the lights go out. He's trying to reach this dude that has not answered him once the entire movie, and it's clear as day that he's not going to answer or help in any way.
Come on. Shit. Alright, let's just keep going.
And they keep going. Remember at the start of the movie when they had to cut them getting out of a taxi? Why would they leave in this whole scene? There's pointless, non-moving footage that probably takes up more time than you saved with the earlier cut. Besides, this scene doesn't really do anything. The power outage could have been during any event, and didn't need the stair ascending bit. Also, the power goes out and Ed complains that he needs it back, but then they just keep going and it turns out the power wasn't really needed? Why stop and argue over this while someone is literally bleeding out? In fact, why are they all casually walking when this is the case? Why is no one in a hurry here? Going to remind you again that they went here to fetch supplies to prevent someone from bleeding out, yet they are slowly sneaking up to the plane. They enter, and to their surprise, they do not find anyone, even though they left 4 people and an abomination here. Speaking of which, they check the bathroom and they find a bunch of blood, but no Ralph. I'm extremely confused though, for a number of reasons. Where the hell did everyone go? Are they hiding somewhere in this tiny ass cigar tube with wings? I mean, I have an unfair advantage here since I already saw the movie, but from their perspective, this makes no sense. Pretty much everything shut off, and they seem to have taken the only available way out of the plane, which means everyone that was in here should either still be here, or they should have encountered them, in which case I gotta wonder how they opened the personnel entrance, as I assume that there's a key needed for that. And also, why the hell is the bathroom door closed? There was something inside that had occupied the entire space. Again, he should either still be there, or he escaped. If he escaped, then who closed the door? I refuse to believe Donkey Kong calmly opened the door, then turned around to close it behind him and then sneaked past everyone to get out of the plane. I guess the pilots could have closed it, but why the hell would they? Also, remember when I said they found no one? I lied. They found Doc, but only after Business Guy grabbed the laptop he needed to conduct his business, in a weird jump scare that also makes no sense. They illuminated the aisle, and it must be pretty hard to miss a grown man sitting directly next to it. I get that he is a mute, but he can still make sounds, but more importantly, he is not invisible. Also, everyone remains scared for like 10 seconds after he pops up, even though everyone has their flashlights pointed at him, because apparently that's how long it takes for everyone to see who it is. They also confirm here that the exit is still closed, further supporting that this makes little sense. They enter the cargo hold and continue to be dicks to one another for seemingly no reason. In this tiny cargo hold, they are trying to find a duffel bag, but for some reason they also check out the labels on the suitcases. They find the medic's bag. Niall grabs a gun, so henceforth he will be gunslinger. And also they encounter rats with big red eyes.
Are you sure it wasn't a hamster?
How are these not red flags? There should not be any rats in here. This area was checked before it was stashed with bags, and no one brought rats as far as they know. Also, Ed describes them as having red eyes, and they're clearly aggressive. Gee, I wonder where we saw that before. They even showed the animal crate that was cracked open. How is no one there able to puzzle this together? Alright, we're going to exit the cargo hold. Right before they entered it, they split the party and left 2 people in an area where they had last seen 5 people, only one of which was still there. One of the missing people has proven to be extremely violent and dangerous. Is anyone else excited to find out how this well thought out plan panned out? Look at that! A bloody laptop. As I said, they're either still there or you should have encountered them, and the latter did not happen, so logically they should still be in the plane. And they are! We find Wilsey and Forrest and they attack Jenny. She's not bitten. She's the main character, so she can't die yet. Ed helps Jenny and Gunslinger kills Forrest. I guess this worked well as a scare, but it just does not make sense. Where were they when they checked the perimeter? Wilsey may have been hidden in the back where they could not see him, as they did not go all the way to the back, which is stupid. Why would you not ensure that the coast is clear? But where was Forrest? Based on this shot, he should have been straight to the left after they entered the plane, but in an earlier shot he was not there. How were neither of them seen or heard? I just don't get why they would approach the plane all calm and cautious, but then when they're inside the plane, where everyone they left there is missing and they actually have a reason to be cautious, they don't bother being careful. Also, how did they attack Business Guy and Doc without making a sound? Why were there no roars or screams from the attacked people? Were the rats so loud that it covered the entire fight? Back in the hallway we find Doc and Business Guy, the latter of which is seemingly dead and the former can't walk, yet both of them made it out there somehow. Also, Doc doesn't have a scratch, which is weird, as he's probably the one that was least capable of defending himself. Before they go back to the tarmac level, they hear a female crying further ahead. I wonder who it is, guys. Could it be the only female they left behind in the plane that should logically still be located in the finite area she had access to? Bingo! She's scared, crying, somewhat blood and slime covered, and even though there are no visible bite marks, she turns at this exact moment. They escape through the employee-only passage and attempt to lock the raging lady out as they set their course to return to the others. They reconvene after this lackluster excursion. Before we continue, I want to point out that all the feral people they encountered were fine when they were last seen, unlike Paula, who was already fucked up. Logically, this means that Paula would have gone nuts already, because everyone we just saw was bitten after her and already went berserk. But as we return, we find out she is not yet a monster. I'm gonna assume that their excuse is gonna be that they sedated her, which I would have been okay with, except the shot you gave her was not a sedative. Jenny is sad, and the kid is going to talk to her. You know it's serious because he takes off his hood. Remember at the start when we were given 2 character traits? In the coming 2 minutes, they're giving the background story belonging to this one. It doesn't really fit the story arc so far, and it's also not really a logical response to the past events. There's 0 response from George, and then she takes off. She wanders off and hears a trail of blood, leading to a puddle of blood, and oh no, we've lost interest. We're back at that door with the screaming lady, which has now been fully shut, and the same stuff is in front of it. Why did we go back here? Nobody knows, and once again we return to the rest. So basically, she came back, they kinda patched up Paula, then she went to sulk somewhere with the kid, then there was blood, then we were back at this door again, and then they went back to the rest. I think my brain is too small to process the higher power logic going on here. But anyway, she's back here and the SAS squad is giving her the business again. She's doing some authoritative speech where she first gets more sass, but eventually she takes charge. Also, they're discussing the disease and conclude that they know nothing. Except for the baggage handler, who is the only one present that could connect the dots and identify what he saw as
Like some kind of fucked up rabies. People rabies.
It's hilarious. They've created this pharmacy-savvy character to make it believable that they have some medical insight, and still, they had to be enlightened by the bag slave of all people? I mean, I don't really want to bash him since he's one of the better characters so far, but his job is not the result of a high education. He's obviously not the sharpest Ched. Why must this come from him? Why did they have to make the medic so stupid? She argues against it being rabies because of how fast it spreads. Everything else is consistent with rabies. Could it be a mutation? No, impossible! We obviously still have no clue, so drawing wild conclusions like it might spread through bites are stupid, even though that's literally your observation. But then again, even Jenny, who suggested it, does not really seem to believe it.
Friend over there. What do you think, she's infected? She's not. She's not infected. She's fine.
Yeah, you're not biased or anything. So the panic commences and the story can really take off. Will these people make it out alive? Will Paula turn into a monster or something? Stay tuned to find out.